Welcome to Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes with your host Bert Laporte, Damian Monte Carlo, and Angry Mike D. Well, alright, sit back and enjoy the ride as they talk about all things that rock and other useless knowledge you don't care about. And remember, every asshole has an opinion. This is theirs. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe.
Welcome to Mixtapes and Tasty Cakes. Of course, Angry Mike D is with me. We have Frank Stevens here, John Daly.
What up?
And Paul.
He's just
Paul Adler. And Paul. The golden voice of Wildwood.
Exit the boardwalk now.
There it is.
Great. That's great. So I want to start with Paul just for shits and giggles here. So Paul, what is are you the official voice now of Wildwood? For
It's starting to seem that way. I was the bad guy, and they had me doing all the announcements during COVID. But I've moved ahead. They've given me some other stuff, so maybe next year I'll get more work.
That's good. Did you go to school for any of that radio? Because you got that radio sound.
I went to school for radio, television, and film, but I did not go to school for radio, television, diction. Everything I do is something I learned from watching my heroes. I used to watch a lot of local news. One of my heroes was Larry Kane when I was a kid, and I had the pleasure of working with Gary Papa during my senior year. In high school, I was his sports intern, although I know nothing about sports. I worked in the sports department with what was it, Scotty something or other, the guy, and Don Tollefson.
Oh shit!
And, so I had a full year there, and then I moved over to WHYY when I was in college, and spent about a year and a half, 2 years there, working on Fresh Air and a couple other things, and it was fun. And then
nice.
When I left at HYY, they told me I'd never work in broadcasting again because I quit before my contract was up.
There you go.
It was a pig vomit moment.
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
WNBC.
Were you like, were you like, fuck you, I'm going to play music for fucking nothing? How's that? That's what,
I was doing that anyway. But, I left before my contract was up, and the producer of the show, Fresh Air with Terry Gross, he told me, you'll never work in broadcasting again.
Wow.
Well, what did you do to cause that, Paul?
I quit because I got a job. I graduated college, and I was working there for a couple bucks an hour doing research work, and I got a job as an editorial assistant at a magazine, and launched my career in printing. That's what I do during the day. I work in printing.
You got a real job.
Press specialist. I got a real job, but
Nice.
I still managed to play in a band and did all that stuff, and ended up getting the band shopped back in the early 90s until we were getting shopped right around the time when Kurt Cobain and his friends broke.
Yeah,
and,
well, that was it.
Yeah, perfect timing.
It was great. The Atlantic came back to us and said, "Could you go back and re-record some of these songs with a grunge flavor?
Yeah.
Could you sound like this?" Yeah.
And I literally flipped out in the agent's office. I told him, "Fuck you, I'm done," and I walked out.
Wow. Yeah. So
many words.
So Paul is the guitar player for Instinct, the original band, and also does old school with our buddy Shaky. Me and Shaky go back a long time. Shaky's great, man. He's a lot of fun. He's got his own show, matter of fact. So the Shake Band show, I believe, and he's been doing it for like 16 years, which is fucking awesome. And this is a grind, man. It's a grind. So God bless him. And he was one of the first ones that I know that was doing something like that, and kept at it, But I seen you guys couple months ago with our buddy Seems Like Tuesday, and what a great show you guys put on. The best part of the show, guys, was we're all saying, okay, because we know they're going to do like the 80s kind of rock thing, and we're like, okay, what do they open up with? we're like, let's take guesses. Somebody's saying Motley Crue, somebody's saying Def Leppard. They open up with an Aldo Nova song. We were like,
Right?
wow.
Who song? What?
Aldo Nova. Mike don't know
I don't
who Aldo
even know
Nova
that
is.
band, man.
Nobody
I
knows
love
Aldo Nova.
I love Out of Nova. I saw
They
Out
might
of
do it
Nova.
again.
I saw Out of Nova at the Spectrum.
Did you really?
I did.
No
And
shit.
so, man, who were they with? It was. I feel like it was Out of Nova and like Mountain.
Oh my God. That's
I was
wild.
like a psycho Out of Nova fan. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was,
he-
probably like an $8 ticket.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, I just remember the album cover. It reminded me of the David Bowie album cover or something he had like the blue jacket on with the red.
Yeah,
That's the one I remember.
Sideways.
Right.
It was like the Odd Kiss solo album looking record.
Yeah. And the fantasy video where he's like shooting helicopters with guitars. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
fantastic.
You know what's funny, John?
At least that's how I
was
remember
very
it.
Terminator.
Yeah,
I
right,
watched something
right.
with him recently, and he still looks good. He
Really?
plays good. I was like, yeah. I was like, this guy's still kicking it, which I didn't think of Aldo Nova until even when they played the song, I didn't know right off the bat. And Steve looks at me, Steve goes, fucking Aldo Nova. And I'm like, oh shit.
That should be his whole name. It should be fucking Out of Nova.
Fucking
You know
Aldo
what I
Nova.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man. So like I said, we got Paul from Instinct and from Old School, which are gonna, they're gonna play the show and they're gonna play a bunch of cool tunes. We have Frank, who's promoting the show. Frank Stevens. Frank's in a ton of stuff, man. Frank's got his own solo band. He writes some records with some great artists on his demos right now. I mean, you even have Kenny Arnoff's on the demo. And who else you got? You got a bunch of names on that, right?
Yeah, Kenny Arnoff's on drums. Got Reggie Wu from Heaven's Edge on guitar.
The best.
Yes, absolutely. Amazing to work with. Keyboards, Matt Fink from Prince and the Revolution.
That's crazy.
Jesus.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And singing is Scott Foster Harris. He was a replacement singer in LA Guns in the 2000s.
LA Gun singer number 8, maybe. You were number 8.
Yeah.
I am not a number. I am a free man.
Yes. But so Ed, you're also doing the house band now, Tom and Jerry's too, right?
Yeah. For years and years, I've only been focusing on original stuff, and even that was like super part-time. But I decided I really wanted to get back into being, a regular player. And so I've been using the open mic nights at Tom and Jerry's to shake the dust off, get my chops back, get used to learning songs and playing with people. Cause I've been in a booth isolated for so long, multi-tracking. So actually playing with people again, it's something that I have to, regain that comfort level with.
Well, I've popped in and watched him play, and he's killing it. So it came back quick, man.
Frank's
came
a
back
good
quick.
bass player. Frank is a good bass player, man. Never had the pleasure of actually playing with him, though. I don't think, out of everybody that kind of mixes up with everybody, I played with a lot of people that played with Frank, but I never played with Frank. But Frank was badass back in the day, man. Like, always good. Always good. Street Opera and all them kind of bands. He was really good, man.
I can attest. He was in this room, and it was me and him and Johnny Callan and Pat Shoemaker, and we put together a song in an afternoon, and that was a smoking song.
Yes.
Smoking song.
Very
Killer
cool.
bass line, of course.
Very, very cool, man.
We got to come back and finish that sometime.
We do need to finish it. Relearn all that crap I did.
So I want to introduce the next guy here because he's been one of my favorites since I started playing, really. So we got John Daly here, who runs and owns pretty much the Let There Be Rock School in Delco. And we're doing the show. We're doing a show. It's the Russfest 2, which Frank runs. It's Frank's idea, Frank's brainchild. And Frank came up with an idea and was like, you know what? We did the first one for Russ's family. He's like, I still want to do something in Russ's name. He's like, what should we do? And then we were talking about, I don't know if it was me and you, me and you might have been going back and forth. And I was like, well, we practice at John's all the time or whatever. And he's like, well, what if we do something for the kids? And I was like, awesome idea. See if John wants to do it, if he's got the time to do it. And John went right on board. I mean, he was like, awesome thing. So matter of fact, John just got an award from, what was it, from Fox 29. John just brought you an award?
Yeah, it's actually on tonight at 10.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
It's 9:18 now. Yeah, yes, it was super nice. It was one of our families had reached out and spoke to Fox 29 and they came into this. It's called the You're Awesome Award.
That's cool.
But it's just community based thing.
That's big,
initiated
though,
by one of the families, and it just kind of blew my mind. And which really was wild. I had no idea. Everybody freaking lied to me. They told me that they were here. One of our original bands here, kids that started at the school, but now they're mid-20s. They're called Valentina. Incredible original band. They told me they were filming a video in our basement at the school that day. And then people started piling in, and I'm busy. Like the school's open, we're busy, and I'm trying to navigate all these lunatics hanging out while I'm busy. And my wife's here, and I'm like, it's all cool, man. It's fun, And then they come busted in with the big, comically large check, and they're like, "You won!" I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about?"
What the fuck did I win?
Yeah. So it was funny. And I just looked at the camera like everyone lied to me. This is, horrible people here.
Yeah, dude, I seen that. I was excited. I was like, "This is awesome," because John really is such a good dude. As a matter of fact, I want to write. I got something written down here that I do want to read out. That my reading isn't that great. I'm sure I'm going to fuck up all the words, but I'm going to read it to you anyway. So I first met John in the '90s. He was a guitar player in an awesome band called Crossbone Pie, which later changed its name to Tidewater Grain. A cast of excellent musicians who had the singer with the most amazing voice I ever heard in Philly, man. I mean, I might say his name wrong, even though I know him forever. Kevin McNamara. Am I saying Kevin's name right?
McNamara.
Close enough.
Yeah, you did good. You did good, kid.
And the thing that made Kevin so great to me was that he wasn't that high operatic singer. You know what I mean? Which, I used to try and do. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So when the Scott Weilands and all those guys came in, it was better for me. I didn't have to sound like, my balls were getting squeezed, because I couldn't do it. It was out of my range. And when you start out, you don't know it's out of your range. You're just doing whatever because it's cool, So Kevin was one of my favorites. And, his vocals were dirty, gritty, with tons of emotion and soul, spewing from intelligent lyrics. Kevin's shit was deep, man. Yeah, especially Crossbone Pie. Kevin's shit was deep.
I agree with you.
And I always say, and he laughs when I tell him, Dave Lee Roth meets Ian Asbury with a Jim Morrison twist.
I get all that. I hear all that.
Yeah. All the members in the band were super cool, but I thought John, the guitar player, was the nicest dude, man. He always had time to talk to us. And John was on the uprise, man. They were going places quick. They had some power behind them. Power got handed off to a bigger power. And, they were, I'll still say two bands. And I say it all the time. And the glam kind of stuff, Heaven's Edge should have been huge. And Tidewater Grain should have been fucking huge.
Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
They're the two best Philly bands. I'm not counting the Cinderellas and all that stuff that broke. But as far as 80s, it was Heaven's Edge. 90s, it was Tidewater Grain.
Wow.
Somebody fucked up somewhere, and it wasn't them.
What's funny? We met at the same management office. We both were managed by Golden Guru at the same time.
Shit. How crazy is that?
Not they did anything wrong. I'm just saying,
Yeah. But dude, John would always take his time. And like I said, John was one of the, he didn't have to talk to us. We're a bunch of young kids, right? But he always took the time to talk to us. And, by him sharing his wealth of experience with music and all that. So I could see John doing what he does now and it working well because he does take the time. He's got good patience. I mean, he's really, not to put you on the spot, John, but you were always the nicest dude, man. Always.
Thank you. I feel put on the spot, though.
and here comes Pat. Let's see what shape Pat's in.
Speaking of put on the spot.
Yeah.
But thank you, Bert, man. That means a lot.
Listen,
that's
the truth, John. That's absolutely
I really appreciate that.
It's
and huge.
all us guys, the guys that used to be in Skin of God, that I'm still friends with, and I started playing.
God, I love that band.
Yeah,
I love Skin of God.
All them guys always looked up to you guys. You guys were it. Like, you were it. And we were, we were in 16 or 17. We were like in our 20s. So it wasn't just a kid thing. Like, they were it, dude. They were the fucking band. You know what I mean? But
well, thank you so much, man. I mean, it really it blows me away to hear that.
It's you guys always been my favorite local.
Because all we knew was go to rehearsal and go play whatever show we had for the week. That's all we knew. You knew us. So we were five idiots just with like, how we getting there? Like our drummer would take the bus, we were like putting equipment on SEPTA to get the shows. You know what I mean?
But dude, you had to cast the characters. James, the drummer, was a fucking character.
He was our Kramer. Yeah.
Yeah, James was a character.
Yeah.
It's funny because when the album came out, because it was quiet for a while, and then the album came out, and I was like, okay, I heard a couple songs, and I'm like, okay, this is good, it's good. They streamlined it a little bit from, Crossbone Pie they did a little more odder stuff, a little more Faith No More kind of stuff would be thrown in there, I thought, a little more psychedelic maybe here and there. And then the new record came out, it's like, man, this is a good solid record. Pat's still trying to come on. Pat, UFO.
Yeah,
So,
right.
It sounds like some Beelzebub growling.
It
right.
sounds like an old internet connection. You're waiting for the.
I dialed in on my 57K connection, man.
Oh, we're getting no picture.
NASA, we have a problem.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try again, Pat. No picture, no ride.
Okay. Give me a minute. I'm driving. I'll try and pop on.
Yeah, don't crash and pull over. It ain't worth that much, Pat. Pull over. But like I was saying, yeah, dude, it's just, I just love the stuff. And when they became Tidewater Grain, the first thing I did, I opened up the CD booklet and I went, just because the change was happening, and I was like, what happened? Don't James have red hair? That was the first thing I was thinking. I was like, they all cut their hair. John was like the Scotty Hill or the Dave Sabo. He had that total Dave Sabo kind of look, and I was like, hey, what happened?
I don't have an answer for it.
You don't have an answer?
Yeah. I really don't even have an answer. It was just like, I think we were just getting older. We were tired and like
it changed.
Like it was like we need to be something different when we didn't really need to be something different,
Yeah.
We just kind of fell for the whole thing, and we made a lot of bad decisions. And I would love to say, oh my God, everyone told us we had to make all these bad decisions. We didn't. We made horrible decisions as a band.
Right.
We didn't have much guidance, which didn't help us get from A to Z, but we just weren't totally steering the ship ourselves properly at that point anyway,
I mean, but you don't know. Somebody comes up to any one of us right now, we have no clue. It's like you see something, go, okay, a percentage of something's better than a percentage of nothing, right? So
of course, sure.
You take a shot.
Oh, we loved it. Like the whole ride outside of Philadelphia. That's all we ever wanted. We worked for 10 years to try and get a record. We put out an independent record, which actually did well. It charted, and that got us a look, and we started to get calls from labels, and that thing happened for a hot second. But and then sliding. So we took this Fight Club route. We had like the backdoor route. Then we went from that, and then got signed to Rough House with Chris Schwartz, who was a wild man, if you know anything about Chris. Yeah. So that was wild in itself. So that wasn't going to work because it was just a rap label, and we were like a hard rock band. And then Chris didn't have a major label distributor at the time. And then he originally was with Columbia, but he had lost that. And so right when we got in the mix, Warner Brothers got in the mix and started to, became a distributor for Chris. So then Warner Brothers upstreamed us to Warner Brothers proper. And I mean, there's a lot of life in between that and the next round of things, But the funny thing, the thing I always laugh about, or whatever, well, I don't think we made a great record. We didn't. We had a lot.
Good. It was really good. It was really.
Well, I appreciate that, But the thing that happened was we had been out, setting that record up for almost a year. We played every radio market that that mattered for active rock. And we went everywhere, met every radio programmer. Like we went, the music directors, we took everyone out. We were partying with everyone. We had now friends, for a year of meeting radio people. And the day our record was streeting, well, I'll back it up for a second. Probably a week before the record came out, we were at Warner Brothers in LA, and we were getting the rundown about how this thing was going to launch. And as we're leaving, the girl who was our product manager, her name was Linnea. And she's like, we were just chatting the whole day, walking around like the Warner Brothers lot, just, being all bougie and shit. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what's your take on rap rock? I'm like, it's dead. It's dead. The thing in the past. Thank God rock and roll's back. She's like, I kind of agree with you. She's, but we have a record coming out. It's coming out the same day as yours. And I'm the product manager on it too. And she's like, just give it a listen. Let me know what you think. I'm like, sure. So we get in the van. I pop it in. I'm like, we should just quit. Just drive home. It was the first Linkin Park record.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it came out with the same 4 people working our record on the same label on the same day, and they went to Active Rock, and it was like anybody that thought they knew us for a year, all of a sudden this new band they didn't know was like bam, off to the races. So we couldn't even get records shipped, and to this day, that Linkin Park record is the fastest selling debut rock record of all time.
Wow.
You know, so we're like, we couldn't have come out the next week. You know?
yeah. But that's crazy how that works, right?
Oh, I mean,
crazy.
it really isn't just that. I say that almost in a comical sense.
Right.
We didn't have the record to support it. We didn't have the radio to support it. Like we weren't going to get much further out of the gate than where it got us. But it is funny that happened too on the same day.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right,
changed. It was the
I
change,
choose that to be the answer. You know?
Well, it's weird. It's like, you know, and I don't know when it stopped, but if you remember like the 70s, the 80s, I don't know how much into the 90s it happened, but, you know, a record label or the A&R guys, you know, what's it, 2-3 albums they gave you? Like, you know, it takes a while. Sometimes you don't realize how good the first one is till the third. Look at Kiss, you know? It took the live record for them to go back. Before that, they weren't selling crap.
Right.
Oh, you got like one chance now, and that's about it.
Now you got one chance, and there's a billion.
Yes.
And with the internet, like I always say, there's so much great stuff out there, which is awesome. Independent artists, it's awesome for, but also it sucks because there's no, not that you want to be navigated, but there's no navigation to really, there's no big push now. You know, it seems, unless you're doing, I guess, rap music or whatever, that's still got the kind of push, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
But,
well, there's still, I mean, like on the heavy side, there's still big bands breaking, and they're breaking at an organic level, which is the way it should have been. Like a lot of the, not to get too like, you know, down the rabbit hole, but a lot of the gatekeepers, a lot of like, you know what it was like in the 80s, like A&R guys, that was like Bigfoot. Like they were like urban legends. Someone heard of a guy that worked at Columbia that was going to come to a show or be at the Galaxy or whatever. You know, they were definitely like, you know, almost like non-real entities. And now, you know, like those gatekeepers that didn't really necessarily know what was happening, didn't really know what the next thing was, are out of the mix, man. You know, there's bands out there that are heavy bands with huge careers that manage to do so just with their social media.
Yeah, it's amazing,
you know?
man.
And it's like, man, it's just so cool.
But that's like a whole nother thing too, is the social media. You got to master that, you know?
Yeah, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a different talent. Yeah, it's a different talent than just writing a song.
Or to even hit the algorithms, you know what I mean? To get it to more. It's like listen. We do the podcast and I do the music thing, and you know sometimes you get a ton of hits, sometimes you get no hits. I still can't figure it out. It's like you just throw it up against the wall and see what happens.
Right.
You know, I was telling I don't know who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody. I don't know if I was talking to John or somebody, but I was mentioned to somebody recently that we did an episode on that Maneskin band, which I didn't know nothing about. I knew they were the kids kind of liked them, and you know, of course, we didn't like the album, but
we got in trouble for that.
It got like 1,700 views.
Oh, really?
In a couple days, and then we put out like the new Jack White record thing, and we get 25 hits. And I'm like, I don't understand.
Right. Well, yeah, new and cool is cool. You know.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. We have to really check out the new stuff.
That's
you know?
it.
I find the same thing with the P word when we do it. It depends on, you know. I think there's somebody coming on that's going to be like the biggest show ever. And then the obscure show is what does really well.
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's almost like you just throw shit up against the wall and take a shot.
Like
you know?
we have Steve DeBillio on. We always get views.
Yeah, Steve always gets his views.
Same for us.
Yeah, you really never know. Here goes fucking Pat. Pat's in the house. Maybe.
I'm dark.
What's up, Pat?
Yeah, I get on that P show with those guys. You know what I mean? And,
there he is.
The P word. We love the P word.
This might have been the cast of that show that was on.
Everybody here except for Angry Mike has been on the show.
Yeah, that's funny. Man. That's funny. Yeah, you guys are a good time. It's crazy. That show's wild.
No, I get on there with those guys and we have a good time. We talk about stuff. Music on occasion. Yeah. Normally it's music on occasion. Everything else comes up first. Paul and Jim are good for 90% of the insanity around Philadelphia over the past 40 years. Yeah. And we just keep going from there.
Yep.
But hey, good to see everybody. It's always a pleasure to to hang out with friends here. I see Frank and Paul, and the gang's on, and Mr. Daly. How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. How you doing?
Doing good, man.
So, John, you're you got the future in your hands right now, John, of that scene, pretty much.
It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, and I checked out the if I'm saying it right, Valentina.
Yep.
Valentina. Mm-hmm. I checked out the stuff because I know originally they were supposed to play the show. And I checked out the stuff, and I'm like, this is good. This is the girl. And I'm thinking, this is the girl I always ask to hook up my mic when she comes in. I'm like, she was the one. She makes me sound good when she's there.
Right.
I'm like, it's that chick. Okay, I met her. She was cool.
Yeah, they're a legit band, man. Yep. Yeah, they're awesome. So the guitar player, they do, man. The guitar player was my very first student 13 years ago.
Wow.
And he's been here ever since. He's never left the building, really. He's probably here somewhere now. Yeah. And every kid in that band was a student at the school, and now they're teachers. And
yeah. Well, even Rick Haas, who played with us for a little bit, Rick's another guy, that taught at your school.
Rick's just one of my favorite players of all time.
He's so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, Rick, where's your pick? I don't use one. I'm like, what do you mean you don't use one? He's like, no, I'm all right. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm like, okay, never seen
what's
that
the
before.
pick, man? What's the pick?
But Rick's really good talent.
Speaking of that, all that, but you just bring up the school and saying, like the future of it all, and music that's happening organically. There's also a band here that these kids started here when they were 9 and 10. And now the one kid's 20 and the drummer's 18. They're called Twist It, like Twist IT.
Oh, yeah. You know what? My buddy who plays in the Circus Arts, Joe Berkeley, loves that band.
They are killing it. Absolutely killing it. They've literally, so the guitar player, when he was 10, I had him play the Rock Allegiance show, and he opened up for, Godsmack and Korn and everybody. And now he's 20, and the band just finished they just finished a round of demos with this amazing rock producer, Kyle O'Dell, who's had #1 rock tracks all last year. And they're finishing up an EP. They're playing constantly. These kids are doing exactly what we were just talking about. They have no label. They have no management. They're doing it themselves.
Yep.
They've kind of umbrellaed under here, and they have fans coming show to show. They're getting national shows. They have people showing up buying the same guitars that they're playing, asking them to sign them.
Shit.
Like, it's really happening.
Wild, dude.
And they're still only 18 and 20,
That's wild. Yeah,
so,
Joe,
I love it.
Joe talks about them all the time. Matter of fact, Joe called me up, and Joe was like, he called me up 2 days ago and was like, hey, what are you doing Saturday? I was like, I got to go to Joe Mal's daughter's having a baby, so they're having a gender reveal thing. So I got Joe Mal's daughter's thing to go to. And I was like, wow, what's going on? He's like, I was going to tell you to come with me with Twist. I'm going to help twist it, like, with your equipment or whatever. And Joe's a great drummer too, but Joe loves that band.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I was like, I got to catch them next time. But I didn't know there was a connection with you and them. I didn't know
those
that.
kids have literally been in this building since they were 9 years old, and they're still here. They're still doing lessons. They're still working on songs in their lessons, but they also have, taken it upon themselves, and they have just built this awesome little career by figuring it out day to day, just like we used to do, old school rock band. Every day they're like, hey, can we use the basement to make a video? Hey, can we do this? Like, yeah, you can. You can do anything you want in this building.
To go back, the old saying, I wish I knew now what I didn't know then, because, we were all nuts back then. We all thought we were getting a major league. Back then, we were out of our minds.
I think I would make all the same mistakes. I think I'm the same idiot I am today. Yeah. I don't think anything's changed. 19 to 53. I don't think I've learned anything.
But you're having fun, which is cool.
Having a blast.
That's what's cool. So Frank, what do you got going on? Let's hear what you got going on. I know you said you got the cover thing going on that you're trying to put together, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm keeping an eye out for opportunities for me as far as joining projects. But my big push right now has been this Astro Jones is the working name right now.
Great name.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah, and it's mostly it's people that I met through the open mic night. Jennifer Matten, she's from the band Old School Saints. They're a non-co band. They were just part of that MGK contest. They were one of the final. Jimmy Rocciola, who I believe
I know Jimmy. Yeah, Jimmy's a good guy.
Yep. And that was pretty convenient because Jimmy's my next door neighbor. So So the search for a singer a male vocalist didn't take very long. On drums, Ray, X-Ray, some people call him. He's Renard Guy. You might know him from the cover band Buzzkill. They played Tom and Jerry's a lot. Excellent drummer. We've jammed with some guitar players and keyboard players, great players, but we have yet to name anyone at those positions. We're still holding auditions and got an eye out. So if anybody's interested, hit me up. We definitely want to bring some more people down, see if we can out the lineup.
And in case anybody don't know, Frank, besides playing bass, besides starting to promote shows, Frank also has a magazine called Coach and Player, right? It was a Coach and Player?
Well, yeah. Well, that's been shelved for some time.
But it's still there. It's still your own project.
Yeah. We put a few issues out a while back, and we actually got some traction with it. I mean, we had partnered with ESPN Radio for a while, and we were getting some of our writers and stuff were helping out as analysts and stuff on radio shows across the country at different ESPN things. And it was a fun ride. I mean, to be honest, I started it really just as I was a photographer. I was shooting for Temple Athletics in University of Pennsylvania, Delco Times. I was doing some things, but I wanted to do bigger events. And so I met this photographer when I was in Florida, and he was like, if you just start your own media platform, you can get credentialed, and you'll be surprised some of the people that'll let you in. And so it was really just a hustle so I could get on the field for bigger games and stuff.
Yeah.
And what had happened was some of these schools were really into what we were doing. And so all of a sudden it was we're at we're in the press box at Notre Dame, and we're sitting there hanging out with people from ESPN and NBC, and they're talking to us like we're like
you're legit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And so we're sitting there okay, and then and it got to the point where the radio people were really into it. I mean, we had Terrell Owens that ended up on the cover, and a lot of people were really excited about it. But unfortunately, it was two things that caused me to shelf it. Number one, from a creative standpoint, as far as putting the magazine together and the writing and the presentation, I think I did a really good job with. And so the industry people loved the magazine, and they wanted to work with us, and they wanted to help us grow. We were getting bigger names, but the problem was I really didn't have the business side of it locked up. So we weren't making any money, and it was horribly expensive. And also everything we were doing, we were using freelancers. And in that, at least in that business anyway, if you're not paying someone's mortgage, they're only going to take it so serious.
Sure.
And so we just had a lot of people who were literally holding us hostage as far as meeting deadlines and getting things out there, because they had nothing to lose. You know what I mean? So they the dependability wasn't there. Getting every issue out on time was a street fight. And really it burned me out. And it's a shame, because it's it really is not much different than a band. I think all you guys can relate to, you're in a band, just when you start writing those next level songs, just when the shows are really starting to, and the fans are really it's always right when when you feel like you're really turning out some next level stuff, that's when it all falls apart.
Yeah.
Singer as a baby.
Exactly.
Well, that's why I think the smartest thing right now that everybody's doing is, at our level, is putting out singles, because when you go in and you do a whole record, the one band I did, we were in a band called Stop the World. It was me, Steve, Joe Fortino, all the players you guys know, Joe Mal. We put that out. We spent 6-7 months in the studio, spent maybe $10,000 on the record, had a good had a good producer, loved the way the record came out, loved the record. The band broke up 4 months after the record came out. And then a year after, stuff starting to steam up. We had the MTV thing and all that bullshit with the rock band stuff. All that stuff hit a year after. So it was the band already shot its load. I think the studio fucking killed us. you know? So now it's like you put out a single, you're still working on other songs. By the time you're done that, you record that, you put out another single. I guess for bands that aren't signed to a major label or have money behind them, if you're doing it yourself, drop singles, man, you know, and then
You
package
see,
it at the end, you
you
know?
see a lot
That's
of
what
that
they're
on
all
Spotify
doing.
now.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's the move. You know,
That's the
absolutely.
move. And, you know, and as much as, listen, I mean, I'm sure like probably everybody right here, we love the old school, you know, the album where like the first track means so much to the last track, the way it's put together in sequence and all that stuff. And I'm sure we all love that, you know. That's just a different art form right now. You still could do it, but you got to piece it differently when you put
I would
it
have
out.
loved this. Like the way our band was as like ADHD when we didn't realize that's what we were then.
Yeah.
If we could have put out a different kind of song every month because that's what we wrote that month
Yeah.
and not had to think about like trying to make it something that had to be something and maybe it wasn't,
Yeah.
I think we would have loved it. You know, like it seems like so much freedom.
Yeah.
It really does. Of course, we all love the records we grew up on and all that's wonderful. But the idea now, like, oh my God, you could be something, your band could be a different feel every month if you
There
wanted
should
to
be
be.
no
you know?
boundaries. Well,
None.
that's what ruins. That's
Mm.
what I think ruins music, John. Which it was different in the '60s, the '70s, and maybe the early '80s. It's like, okay, take like a band like, I don't know, we'll say Def Leppard. I don't know, I'm just throwing out a name there.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the first record, okay, the second record, pretty good. The third record, oh, they got a sound. The fourth record, they really got a sound. Now the fifth record's exactly the same as the fourth record in production wise, and it's like, okay, now
Right.
it's all starting to sound the same.
Now we're locked into what we are.
Now you're locked into what you are.
Mhm.
Don't do anything different now.
Right. We're back in the day,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
you would hear a band do a heavy song, and
Yeah.
then you would hear them do like a country sounding song, like Zeppelin, you know, and you're like,
Yeah.
and you didn't think twice about it. It's just Zeppelin, you know?
Yeah. I would throw, you know, I might get my head handed to me for this, but I would throw like Chili Peppers into that. Like Chili Peppers were so wild. And then once they hit mid-tempo radio,
It's what they were.
They
time.
just became that for the rest of,
Absolutely.
up until now.
Yeah.
And
Me
it
and
worked
Mike
for
talked
them.
about that.
You know,
Once
I'm not mad at them.
Californication came out, it was like everything sounded the same.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they still had good songs, but the
Oh, yeah.
format was there. You knew
They
format.
found the thing. Yeah. Worked.
Yep.
You know.
And
they
that's
still,
the thing. It works for a while.
They can still do 2 hours live, and it doesn't sound like one long mid-tempo song.
Right.
They're still one of the greatest live bands of all time. So
right. But it's crazy because I knew of them since I was a kid because they would even be in like Goofy B movies and stuff, and I really didn't start digging into and liking them until Mother's Milk. That's when I kind of was like, oh, this band's really good. And you know, I guess they were tamed a little bit at that point.
They were.
It was the higher ground, man. When I heard that song, I'm like, wow.
Ridiculous band.
Yeah, that song was a wake-up call for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it made me go back and listen to the Stevie Wonder record, which I thought was just old man music when I was a kid. Now I go, wow, that's a great record, you know? But it's the same thing, you know, as you get older, all the bands I appreciate now were old man music when I was a kid, you know, like the Leonard Skinners and all that, you know?
Right.
But it's crazy. Yeah, now we're old men. Yeah, that's why.
Right.
But to me, you know,
that's why we like it.
When Jimmy Page was in the Firm, they look like old fucking guys to me. I'm like, they're old, you know?
Right.
Crazy stuff. So, Paul, what do you guys got going on in Instinct? You recording yet, or are you planning to record, or?
We're going in the studio in October. We're going to start recording our first 2 songs, and then we'll drop a single or 2, and then we're going to go see where it goes from there.
Who are you recording with?
We're actually recording at a home studio. We're recording it with Mike Calamia. He's got a studio in his place, so we're going to give that a shot and see how it goes.
Very, very cool. Old school.
Not just gigs.
Do you guys plan out your set yet for this coming show, October 6th?
October 6th, the set is not written yet.
I'm hoping for a few surprises. You got to put in at least one surprise for me.
I don't know what's going to happen, man.
And John, who do you have coming from the school playing?
So, excuse me. I have 2 bands that are gonna. So the older band, and I'm saying older, but they're 15, and they change their name literally every 30 seconds. So I don't have an actual running name for them. But man, it's just fantastic players. And a singer that just rips my head off every time. And they do cover stuff, and they usually lean like on the emo side. They'll do like some Dashboard and Brand New and stuff that I just absolutely love. But then I've got this young band. They're probably, I'm going to say they're 12, and they've already been together for about 4 years.
Wow.
And they're called Underage Against the Machine.
That's a great name.
Which I
Great
think is the greatest thing I've ever done in my life. I think like naming them that, and then like my child, and then everything else in my life. But I think like the minute that fell out of my mouth, I'm like, I think I'm done here. I think I've done everything I have to do. Yeah.
It's a great
But
name.
yeah, and they're such a good band. They're so good. Yeah, so Underage Against the Machine, they'll do like a good 25-minute set or whatnot, and they're gonna kill it. These kids have been playing together for a while. They're just crazy talented.
I'm looking forward to it. Anytime I see those, the younger guys play, I'm like, wow, because I say it all the time. I've been doing music since I was probably 15, 16. I play a little bit of everything, nothing good. I'm not good enough to play anything.
Stop.
Like I come up with an idea, I could come up with melody lines and lyrics and shit like that. I get lucky on those. But as far as playing, I know where you got to go. I just couldn't do it myself. So anybody could play any instrument. It amazes me how many people play, because it's fucking hard. They're all hard. Every instrument's hard. It's and some people.
I agree with you.
Some people are born with the talent where they just do it. And some people really work hard, and you need a combination of both. Because, all of us been playing music forever. There's a lot of guys out of there that are incredible musicians, but they're just nuts. They're all nuts. They hate everything they do. And you're like, no, that's gold. Don't throw it away. Give it to me, because you're out of your fucking mind.
That's actually one of my favorite moments of being in a band and working with people is like, say you're with your guitar player and they're just noodling, or maybe they're just tuning up, and you hear something, you're like, whoa, what was that? And they're like, what was what? That thing you just played. I didn't play anything. No, wait, you mean this? Yeah, that. It's like,
you mean that Sweet Child of Mine thing?
Exactly. Exactly. Now, is that Pat? Are you there? I think Pat has left us.
I feel like we saw Pat bury a body for a minute. I don't know what's going on.
It was getting pretty crazy.
Up, but I'm like, I want to see this on a Netflix special soon.
It sounded like the door was open, the beeping was going on. I don't know what happened.
Like
put the
unscrewing light bulbs and making shit go away. I was like, I'm looking away. I don't want to know.
So we don't know where Pat went. If Pat pops in, we're going to ask him about.
We got questions for him now.
Yeah,
I think we have bigger questions for him now. Yeah. What the hell are you doing? Yeah.
Well, dude, I'll never forget that. My buddy Donnie. Now you probably remember Donnie from the Opera House. He's the other one that worked with James. Donnie played in a band called Grin when we were younger, and he still writes with me today. Anything I do,
Donnie,
yeah, awesome guitar player, awesome singer. Me and Donnie still work together. Anything I do at any project I do, Monte Carlo, whatever, me and him are always doing vocals together and working on stuff together. But when them, what do they call those? Like them Google or Echo boxes came out, where you could talk to the thing. Remember the speakers you could talk to, and they'll play. Hey Siri, play whatever the fuck, right?
Oh yeah.
So Donnie goes, hey, I'm like, because he's breaking my balls. And he knows I get paranoid. He's like, hey Siri, in on this date, like he mentioned, like 5 years from the date, remind me where the body's hidden. And I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind?
That's funny. Yeah,
it's funny. He's out of his fucking mind. But I still write with Donnie. Oh, there goes Siri. Oops, sorry.
The body is still hidden.
I didn't know that was on my damn phone. Yeah, so I still write with him, and that we're close anyway. But that we have that music thing, that we have a connection, and he's same thing. Like he's got a good job. He loves doing the music thing on the side, but he don't want to ever be in a band and stuff like that, because he don't want to go through the whole 3 o'clock in the morning bringing.
It's maddening, right?
It's crazy, but he loves the creative end, which is my favorite part. So my favorite part's the creative end. Like playing out's cool, but if you just put me, I don't need to be the guy. If I could write for Paul, write for you, and I'd be happy with that. I don't need to be. You don't need this short little fat guy singing the songs. You could have anybody. Pick who you want. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Pat, you're back.
Can you hear me now?
It looks like you made it home, Pat.
Is everyone okay?
I actually was in DC today. I was working down there. I had like 3 happy hours and then this, so I was trying to make everything.
You got to slow down. You're walking too fast. I'm getting out of breath over here. So, Pat, what's going on with Sick Vicky?
Same stuff, man. We've been writing some new stuff. We're kind of like we took the summer off just because that's cover band heaven in the summer, and everybody goes to the shore, and we're not going to we weren't really doing a lot of cover tunes and stuff like that. We want to stick with our original stuff. So we kind of took the summer off, and then I'm working into the fall right now. We have a show coming up at the Puck in
All right,
Doylestown.
Pat, hold up for a second. You're freaking me out. I just see your mouth. It's really weird. It's really weird.
There he is.
I feel like I should be hitting in fucking time. Ding, ding, ding.
He's like in the witness protection program.
It's really freaking me out.
You never know, right? but anyways, no, we're doing our thing. You know what I mean? We got a few new songs that we've been working on, and we're playing the Puck in Doylestown with Weekly and the Super
Dave,
Mario Bros. Which, yeah, so it should be a fun show.
Wait, what? Now what's Super Mario Brothers? That's a band?
It's apparently it's the Mario Bros. It's a couple of guys whose last name's Mario, and they named the band Super Mario Bros.
Fucking awesome.
That's awesome. They know Eric Az really well. They're friends of his, and he said he asked us to put him in. I'm like, yeah, why not? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun night though, because Rich and Eric both live out there. It's probably going to be mobbed. It should be fun, and we have between that and then Russfest in a couple. That's a week and a half away right now. I'm just trying to do what I can do. You know what I mean? It's fun.
Yeah. Well, I will say Pat's one of those guys that come out to every show he can. He makes a lot.
Yeah,
of them.
I do.
He really does. So
I try and I support local music. I support all of our local artists. When we started playing again, you guys were one of the first bands that we brought in to go play with us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep doing that as long as I can, and as long as I'm not tripping over my own feet and drooling and things like that, I'm okay.
I think for all of us at this point in life, with the music thing is, you just have to have fun and enjoy it, and that's what you just do. You do because you want to do for yourself, and if somebody likes it, awesome. If not, as long as you're happy and being creative,
Yeah, happy, be creative, maybe make $1 or $2 here and there without having to spend
I don't know, but I never
lunch.
make $1 or $2.
I know.
So
We always miss that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Who's
Really,
your guy? Let me
is.
know.
Yeah.
No, honestly, the music business, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this in the past and now, and it's really messed up.
Yeah.
There's so many hands in the pot anymore that the band itself is trying to build and make a following and make a couple of dollars and make it a career. It's excessively difficult.
Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, well,
it's always was though, wasn't it?
Yeah, always.
It's a love. It is.
I mean,
it really is a love.
Never knew it any different. I mean, I thought it was always the same way.
Yeah. Well, what's funny? I did an interview last night with a guy, Mike Walls from Retro Rock Roundup, and I did a podcast. I went on his podcast last night, and we were bullshitting kind of about what we're bullshitting about. And he was like saying, well, what do you think of Spotify and stuff like that? I'm like, listen, if you're an unknown artist, like me or whatever, and you tell me I got 50,000 hits on Spotify, I'm tickled pink. Spotify's awesome till you build up where you make the real money. Then it sucks. You know what I mean? But I'll never get to that point, so I'm okay.
Wow, I got 50,000 hits on Spotify, and they paid me $35.
Yeah,
holy mackerel!
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it's great to get your stuff out there. Then I guess if you're an established artist and you're really making real money, then it gets to be, I guess, a headache. But like I said, I never had the pleasure of hitting that level, and I'm fine with that. I'm happy if 3 people. Even the podcast, like say 10 people watch this podcast, and there's 10 people that are listening to all our stuff right now. That's 10 people that have never heard it before. So it's still a plus.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I try and keep it as positive as possible, because if you look the other way around, you'll jump off a bridge.
Well, I from what I hear, the best way to do the hustle now is you try and get 50,000 hits on Spotify, and then hopefully from that you can sell 400 T-shirts.
Let me know. Let me know.
The whole business is. It's funny because you said
400 T-shirts and 100 CDs.
Mm-hmm.
John, you were saying?
It was just funny that he said that, because it was going through my head. But I don't know if you guys know, but Larry Mazer. Larry Mazer was South Jersey's dude. He was Cinderella and Kiss and Peter Frampton and Pat Benatar. And I was lucky enough to be around Larry for a lot of years. But Larry's been saying for 25 years, tickets and T-shirts, even when it was records. Even when he was doing big record deals, he was like, tickets and T-shirts, tickets and T-shirts. That's what you're doing. That's the business you're in. So now with Spotify, if you're not making money on because of the streaming, but still tickets and T-shirts. So if
you
it's
can sell your T-shirts on Spotify now too.
Of course,
yeah.
But if it's driving kids to go see your band and they're buying tickets and T-shirts, you're making money. You know,
it's like even like playing these clubs, and you go, well, this club only does this kind of band. I'm like, listen, if you put ass in the seats and they're buying beer,
they'll flip in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
right?
they don't care. They don't care if you're playing death metal. If you're filling up the place and selling beer, they don't care.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So I got some questions for you, John. What sparked the idea of this to start the school?
All right. All right. So after playing, being in a band, and all that hubbub, because I was kind of like I don't know. I was kind of the dude that was like the conduit in our band that was like connecting everything. And so when the band was going south or was going to feel a little sideways, I just went right into, I didn't go right into managing bands, but I ended up managing bands. And it's funny because I mentioned Larry Mazer, but so that was one of the things. Like I knew Mazer for years. So I had been turning him on to bands that needed managers that he was picking up and getting deals. So as a band member, I was like, you know what? That's my exit plan. That's my dude,
Yeah.
So when I was finally done, I went to Larry's. I was like, I'd never thought about managing before, but I was all excited. I'm like, I go over to Larry's. I'm like, hey man, I'm ready. I'm going to start managing bands. I like to do it here. He's like, no. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't work with anybody. I'm like,
oh man,
what do you mean? I'm like, you have like 2 bands you're working with right over here. I'm like, and he's like, nah, I don't work with people. I'm like, well, that sucks because I've been playing it for my whole life for this to be the thing, And so I went home all defeated. And I spent that weekend like, what the hell am I going to do? And then Monday I woke up and I was just, man, that's ridiculous. So I went back. I was, yeah. And so he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I work here now. He's like, nah, absolutely not. I'm like, yeah. It's like the phone rang, like Larry Mazer's office. And I'm like, Larry, Harvey Leeds, line 2. He's like, and he walked away mad. And I worked there for fucking like 7 years. Yeah. Yeah, it was just sheer stupidity. But so I did. So I managed for a bunch of years. And I picked up, I was working with, some really cool heavy emo metal bands and across the board. So like Ozfest Warped Tour bands,
Oh, cool.
Doing that. And it was getting wacky, man. You could kind of see the writing on the wall. You could see labels pulling in budgets and signing less bands. And when I started managing, I was managing 3 bands and making money. And by the time I was getting like shot from it, I was managing 10 bands and making less money. I'm like, this is weird, man.
Yeah.
So while that was happening, a friend of mine who was a super cool dude, Scott Marceron, he had an amazing band in the 90s called Shaft. They used to play, they were a Maryland band, but he used to play in Philly with us all the time. They were like Quicksand, but like, even angrier.
Yeah.
And we stayed friends forever. So Scott, he'd been managing some bands. He'd worked in the industry for a while himself. And at the time, he was like, I need to figure something else out. I was, you should open a music school. I just thought he'd be great at it. So he dug into it and ended up opening a school in Maryland called Let There Be Rock School. And so I was still managing. So as my bands were on tour, I would have them stop by and do meet and greets at his school.
Nice.
And I just fell in love. Like I said it to him, but never even really processed what it was. And then going down there and watching these kids jam and play music and then come meet and greet the bands that I was bringing on tour. It just kind of blew my head off. I was like, this is cool. And then I just started to feel like I need an exit plan, man. If I don't have like a hit band, like something that's just massive and printing money, this other lifestyle thing seems to be diminishing. The labels are closing up. So I said to Melissa, I'm like, I think I like this idea. I think I want to look into doing what Scotty did and open a school. And she was like, okay, don't do anything impulsive. Don't be you about this.
Yeah.
Talk to Scotty, come up with a plan, figure it out, see if it's something you want to do. I'm like, of course. I wouldn't do anything stupid. And then I called her at lunch that day and I was like, hey, I got keys to a building. And I think I'm going to do this. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, I literally passed the building. It said for rent. I called the guy. He came over and gave me keys. I'm like, I think I know what the drum room's going to be. I think I have a plan here. And literally it was just like that. And so I still managed a few bands, but I was just feeling myself, man. I had done the band for 13 years. I now had managed for 10 years. I'm like, I'm just tired, man. I just wanted to do something different. My kid was like, she was like 6, and just, I was away constantly. So I just wanted to be home and do something different. And I'm unhireable. I've worked in music since I was 14. So I'm literally unhireable anywhere else in the world,
Right.
Or anywhere else on the planet. So, when Melissa told me not to, and I did, and here we are,
but it
that's
worked
kind
out.
of,
It worked out.
It did. It was a total, luckily I had great people around me, and I'm making light of the fact that she, of her role, but she just jumped right in and made this thing awesome. And, and the help from the Maryland school was just unbelievable, because they saw the franchises and other things out there. And Scotty just figured out a different way to do it and wanted to make it more organic and like our bands used to be, not some big corporate like strip mall thing.
Yeah.
And so we've put now 15 years into,
wow,
and his school 15 years, mine 13 and a half, of trying to do something that's just different from the way everyone else does this out there. So
yeah, dude, that's cool.
I didn't mean to make that a commercial for myself. I apologize.
No,
but we're excited
that's
that
cool.
it's different. You know what I mean?
It's good. Do you have are like adults? Do you have adult classes at all?
Yeah. So I have an adult band program that we do on Sundays. And at first I thought it'd be like a couple dads just like jamming Zeppelin tunes, but now there's 14 bands of adults.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and we go out every 12 weeks and play a live show. We take over Tom and Jerry's for a whole Sunday and just crush the place.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun too.
That's good. That's the most important thing. If you could have fun, and still, you take it serious, you still have fun. If you could love what you're doing, that's a plus.
Oh my God, yeah.
That's
and again, not to commercialize it, but the adult band program for people that were in bands before or weren't or never did it and wanted to do, everybody ends up in this same space, and we have the coolest bunch of people. Like everyone that's come in this building and been a part of this program, I can't believe how adopting they are of the next person that comes in.
That's good.
And it's this great band practice because you don't have to arrange it. It's one of them is 4:00, one of them is 5:00, but it's the same time every week. You just walk in. If you can't make it, you can't make it. The teacher fills in. If you can make it, come. And so it's not like trying to arrange your own band practice and then you're mad that someone can't make it. You're mad at the drummer because he's never on time.
Yeah.
There's none of it, man.
Yeah.
You just come, you play. In 12 weeks, the show, and every single show has been just amazing. And they've become my best friends. Like that's 14 bands of adults here are the people that I talk to regularly all day now in my life.
That's
it's wild.
Awesome.
Totally wild.
That's all. Yeah, I love that you have a program for everybody. So I mean, that's really cool, man. That's really, really cool. Opens a lot more doors, and
it does. It does.
It's awesome. Paul, looking at them guitars, what's your favorite one? Or can you pick one?
I can.
Is that a Paul Reed Smith straight back? Is that a Paul Reed Smith?
No, I'll grab my favorite. I'll show you.
Okay.
It's Paul. He has several favorites.
That's the one.
That's my 78 Les Paul Custom, and it's my best guitar.
Heavy? Is it a heavy guitar? It's probably heavy, right?
She's got some weight, but she's got a tiny neck, and she plays like a beast, man. And I'm a tremolo guy, so it's kind of weird for me, but I can play her real well.
Very cool. Very cool.
My number one is for playing gigs of late is probably this guitar.
Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So,
is that a Chevelle? Can't tell from here.
It's actually a Fender.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's a Floyd Rose equipped Fender, and she's got all German Shaler Floyd Rose parts on her, and Seymour Duncan distortion pickup in her.
Do you work on your own guitars too, or no?
Most of the stuff on these guitars I've done.
Okay.
If I get into a bad spot, I go to Mark Burkert, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what I'm doing here,
Yeah.
But when it comes to the Floyds and all that stuff, I usually do all the adjustments.
Right. Yeah. Very cool. How about you, Pat? What are you playing these days?
I'm playing a Yamaha 5. It's a TRBX 605 FM. Nice bass. I looked at him for a little bit. I was playing an old Ibanez that was given to me as a gift. Somebody found it in a basement cleaner. I tuned it up, cleaned it up, put some strings on it, and started messing around with it just because I needed to move into the 5-string realm just to have that extra. I like the extra low notes.
Absolutely.
And now I'm totally hooked. I couldn't go back to a 4-string, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If I go back to a 4-string, it's going to be tuned BEAD. That's all I can say. I have I just got my. And if anybody remembers from back in the day, I had the stick Vicky Ibanez that had the lips on it from the Kiss Me in French record.
Right.
And I just got that reworked. It's still EABG, but I'm considering maybe possibly doing a little work on it and bringing it down. I use John Treves out in Croydon. The guy's phenomenal when it comes
John
to
Treves is my favorite human being on the planet.
There you go.
John is an awesome individual. He does really, really awesome work on basses, guitars. He's a luthier beyond luthiers, as far as I'm concerned.
He really is.
And I have nothing bad to ever say about the man. If anybody asks me who I get my work done with, it's with him, and they say, can you refer me? I'm like, well, John has a very short list of people he likes to work with, but since you know me, or if you know somebody that knows him, you can probably get in. You know what I mean?
Patty called
John,
me.
You can probably.
Patty called me. He goes, you have to stop. He goes, you have to stop telling people to come to me. I can't do this anymore. You're killing me. And I'm like, but I love you, man. He's like, I have no time left. He goes, I was busy before I met you, and you have to stop. And I'm like, so I feel like he broke up with me, kind of. I feel like it's the first luthier that ever broke up with me. Yeah.
It isn't you, it's me.
It's not you, it's me.
Yeah. And I try not to throw too many people at him, but like when you have some like good people like Dan from
I tell everybody.
Nitro Nitro needed somebody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Dan from Nitro Nitro he got a new guitar and he needed it set up, and I sent him over there. And same thing with Stefan from As We Become Ghosts.
Yeah.
A couple of them guys, that have notoriety that really need somebody who's good. I'll send them to John, and otherwise it's like, I don't know. Let me see what I can do for you.
Yeah.
Hey Frank, so what are you playing these days? What's your go-to?
PV Series 5.
And what amp? You using a certain amp setup too, or?
I'm a Harkey guy. I mean, right now I'm just at the house. I mean, just learning songs for open mic night. So I got a little 75-watt combo. But if I ever do anything, on a bigger scale, I'd probably I have the Harkey 7000 by amp head, 350 per channel. So if ever the need arises, I can pull that out. But I started playing the PV Series 5 back in the early 2000s. I was always like a Fender P-bass type of guy. And I still remember my big dream was to buy a jazz special. So I always wanted the split pickup and the jazz pickup. Mm-hmm. And I saved up my money and I went to Sam Ash. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to buy that Fender I always wanted. And the sales guy's like, okay, I'll sell you the Fender, but first you got to try this PV. And I'm like, PV? Why on earth would I want to play a PV? And he's like, no, you don't understand. They decided to put out a line to compete with the Spectors and the Warwicks and the top line basses. You got to try this bass. So I begrudgingly picked it up. And I tell you what, Bert, it was like being struck by lightning. And I was like, I'm never touching another bass again for as long as I live. Yeah. And it's been like 20 something years and I'm still.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I have like 3 of them.
That's pretty cool.
And here's the thing about the Series 5. If you go on like Reverb and all those other places to buy them, they're very hard to buy. Like there are very few on the entire planet for sale. And the reason why is Series 5 players, because they stopped making them, they don't sell them. People who buy them don't sell them. As a matter of fact, I bought one. Last one I bought was about 6-7 years ago, and I was working in Arkansas, and they actually had to send it up from Louisiana. And I go to pick it up, and the guy's like, "Hey, listen, I just want you to know there's some issues with your bass. We're gonna fix it for free. It had some saltwater damage. The electronics are kind of jacked up, but we're gonna take care of it." And I was just like, dude, do you have any idea what I had to go through just to find that thing? It's like, I don't care what's wrong with it. fix it. You know, as a matter of fact, I gave him a list of upgrades to do to it. I didn't care because just finding them is hard enough. You don't care what it costs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's what happens, man. You find something you like that works for you, it's comfortable for you. You know what I mean? John, this could be a dumb fucking question, but so see, like a lot of bands, of course, this is in this tuning, this is in that tuning, and they bring, guitar players will bring 5 guitars. You'll have the guitar player that's great that'll bring 1 or 2 or 1 and then have to borrow somebody else's guitar player because they don't feel like carrying nothing.
Right.
Then you'll have the other guitar players who've got 9 guitars that are up here on, for a little club. Now, what's weird is like they'll be like, oh, well, that guy plays, that song's, it uses a 7-string. So I'm surprised, and like I said, this might be stupid. Why don't they just make all guitars 7-string now so you can do everything? Or is that possible, or am I just crazy? I don't know.
You're asking me that? I have no idea. I have no answer to that question. I know I would stop playing immediately.
They could make them all 7 and 8 strings, to be honest with you. Like my friend Andy, when I was doing the Danny Danzy project, which was a really very progressive hard rock project.
Yeah, Danny's a good player.
Lots of big vocals, lots of crazy stuff. He has this crazy tuning. So Andy was a rhythm player, and I was playing bass for a while for those guys. And Andy played an 8-string Ibanez, and F sharp on up, and so you got that total gent kind of sound that you may want for some of the songs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And could you do it to all of them? Yeah. Are people going to lose their minds? Probably. But what it adds is the new tonality of modern music, because that's the way you get bands like Ad Infinitum, all these symphonic metal bands now that are adding string, like classical string elements to the music,
right?
That are adding this really low gent kind of sound to the music, and that F sharp string on an 8-string guitar really just makes that whole piece.
I don't think I ever heard in person an 8-string guitar that I know of. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, like I said, when I was playing with Andy, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah,
and my buddy Andy's a great guy. He's a great singer. He works for MMR and MGK. He does all the so you probably heard his work. He does all the promos and stuff like that for all the stations, all the major stations in Philadelphia. Love the guy to death. I mean, he's probably one of my better friends, and we talk probably once or twice a week. But he's one of the musical people. You know what I mean? Anything you put in his hands, you can turn into gold.
Some guys are like that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys just what's that note? Oh, it's this. This is like Donnie's one of those guys. Donnie be like, oh yeah, it's pretty cool. You're singing a blah 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 over major over minor, and I'm like, what? I'm just fucking doing. I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, you're singing major over minor or minor over major. I'm like, yeah, Alice in Chains. I'm around that area. It's like, what tuning are you in? Alice in Chains.
That's like the keyboard player in Sick Vicky. The kid's like 26 years old. Wasn't even around when we first cut our first record, and he's like almost tonally. He's got like that almost like that perfect pitch thing going on.
Yeah.
Where he doesn't even rehearse with us half the time because he's so busy doing jazz and all this other stuff. And he'll show up at a gig and like bang it out.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you do that?
Well, dude, it's funny. It's another connection that me and John do have together. Tony Mecca.
Love Tony.
Yep. And Tony still goes out. Tony does his thing. Love Tony. Uncle Tony, we call him. So, so the thing with Tony is, it's funny because before Stop the World, we were Dry 56 before we changed the name, and recorded some stuff with Tony was working with us. And it's funny, I would sing something, and I come from a different school than Tony does that way, right? So I would sing something. Tony goes, Bert, I don't mean this in a bad way. And we're laughing. It was like, your ass backwards. I said, what am I doing? He's like, the stuff that every singer has naturally you don't have. You have all the wacky shit that you have to learn. And I'm like, I'm ass backwards. Tony be like, I'll be like, E, E. You know what I mean? He's like, And Steve be like, just let him do what the fuck he does. Don't worry about it. You know? But yeah, Tony, his new record just came out on vinyl. I just picked it up and it sounds great. I mean, Tony sounds just as good as ever, man. Now,
yeah, it was a cool album, man.
Yeah, Mike heard it. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. So Tony's another guy, man. It's been doing it. You know, it's in his blood. He's been doing it forever, and he's still out there pushing. Tony's still pushing like he's 20. You know.
Yeah.
So got to give credit to all those guys, man. John, so tell me a little bit about the Van Terra, that van you got. I love it.
I think it speaks for itself.
It's beautiful. It's
Thank you.
friggin' beautiful.
Yeah.
Who did the artwork on it?
Oh, geez. I know him well. I just had a mental block. Yep.
Well, that's like Paul. When I'm trying to remember Paul's last name. Like, why am I forgetting Paul's last name? Why am I forgetting Paul's last name? I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's where I'm at. Yeah.
Yep, that's cool. Well, the guy does great artwork.
He's awesome. He's absolutely awesome. He calls himself Rabbit. His name's Bob. And he's absolutely fantastic. But he does all of like the monster truck. So he does like Gravedigger. So he goes back and forth between Philly and Florida every couple months. And he was doing our adult band camp, and he was going to do the logo. It was actually like, you know, I called him like, any chance you're awesome. Any chance he would just like airbrush the logo on the van? He's like, sure. And then he like, you know, starts to do that. He's like, hey, what about this? What about this? And then he had the van for like 2 months, you know. And I'm like, you're all right, man. You're all right. So.
Dude,
he just knocked it out of the park. It's so much fun.
It is.
Got to get a picture of it so we can put it up.
Yeah. Get us a picture because, dude, we see it when I don't know if we just got done, but John was showing us, and there's so many cool logos on it. It looks great. I think I did a great.
Awesome.
It's got the Vantera thing in the. It's fucking.
I took it to Pantera. And it was like a scene from Rudy. Dudes were just like holding up their red Sola cups as we drove by. It was like all these dudes just like in a line, just like letting us through. I'm like, this is awesome.
Great.
Yep.
That's great, man. So I got a couple more questions for John, then I got a couple questions for everybody. So, John, how surreal was it when Glenn Hughes sang back up on Tidewater Grain's American Star?
Oh yeah, I'm still not over it. Yeah.
Were you there for that session?
Yeah, and you know what sucks? You know what sucks so bad? I used to carry a little Super 8 camera with me everywhere, everything we ever did. And I sat it in the corner and I had easily an hour and a half, 2 hours of footage so Pat Thrall, if you're familiar with Pat Thrall, who was in Pat Travers' band, and Hughes and Thrall, and he was Meatloaf's guitar player. He did Pro Tools on a record, and he and Glenn Hughes were just amazing friends. And so me, Kevin, Pat Thrall, and Glenn Hughes sitting there just like acoustically working out what they wanted to do on the song, you know, harmony wise. And I filmed it all. I had the greatest footage of that thing coming to life. And when I moved into this new building, we have this huge basement here, and it was massive. Most of the time we're like, oh, this is perfect. We'll use this for storage. So we put up tables and built like racks or whatever. We had a massive sewage flood the first year.
Oh Jesus!
And lost everything, every photo, video. I used to film everything. I had like a whole day of Joe Lynn Turner from Rainbow sitting in the studio mixing with us.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even.
Oh my God! He literally just was a friend of Glenn Hughes. Glenn told him. He said he wanted to come here. He said he heard we were like classic rockish and wanted to come hear the band. I just hung out for the day, and I just had all this footage of these dudes just being in the mix the whole time.
You must have been like, what the fuck's going on?
Oh, it was great. So the producer, this is such a stupid story, but you know me, I'm an idiot. So the producer, Kevin Shirley, said, hey man, you guys Rainbow fans? And Kevin and I were like the biggest Rainbow fan. So he's like, Joe Lynn Turner wants to stop by. We're like, awesome. A couple hours go by. Buzzer rings. He's like, Joe Lynn Turner's here. Anyone want to get up? Like, yes. Like, run to the door, buzz him in. And I'm like, 1984, Spectrum. You guys didn't play Stone Cold. He goes, Richie Blackmore's an asshole. I'm like, all right, come on in. I'm waiting 15 years to ask you that, you know? But the immediate response, he goes, Richie Blackmore was an asshole. I'm like, cool, come on in.
Dude, I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, they're like rock gods, you know? Hall of Famers.
My God.
Oh
my God. It was insanity. It was the insanity. And Kevin, we were both Deep Purple fans.
Yeah.
But Kevin was just such like he lives and breathes albums. He always did. If you couldn't find him, he was somewhere listening to like a record, just like headphones on, like every note, every breath. And Ian Gillan, Glenn Hughes, like those dudes were like part of his soul. You know what I mean?
You could hear it. You could definitely tell the influence.
Oh my God. You know,
you could tell
when we were like teenagers, we used to post up. We were underage. We used to post up. I had a van. So we would post up in the parking lot of the Empire. And Kevin would just, when it was over, just start singing Child in Time from Deep Purple until people came our way. And then we knew people. You know, it was just like, I'm like, all right, Kev, here they are, go.
You know, and that's one of the things that, like, that mentality is why, you know, Mickey Rat, I love his thinking, because Mickey's got that old school gorilla. I'm going out in the parking lot. They're going to come. I love it, because a lot of us don't have the balls to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Mickey don't care. And I love that he pushes, man. He pushes.
Al, that's what we used to do back in the day too. Like Sick Vicky, when we were like really working on our vocals and we were really fresh back in the late '80s, we would walk through Philadelphia and just do harmonies. Yeah, we would just be singing in the streets. You know what I mean?
That's, you listened. Yeah, you did what you did. But yeah, that's crazy, man. So,
Rat played with us a few times. Rat jumped in when we were still Crossbone Pie, and we had a bass player issue, and Rat jumped in and played a bunch of Bonnie's shows with us. Bonnie's or Galaxy, like I think it was Bonnie's.
Yeah,
but yeah, we were like wildly different worlds at the time. Like we didn't all totally mesh. But we just fell in love with that dude.
From Cheap Thrills, because Mickey was in Cheap Thrills back then.
Yeah, they were still like air metal.
They were more like the Poison. Yeah, you guys were like Faith No More meets prog rock meets dirty Alice in Chains kind of. You guys had that mix going on, and Mickey came from more, I guess, like you said, the glam stuff. And then after that, Mickey, because I played a couple shows with Mickey, but with Mickey we played a couple shows, and Frank and him had a band called Monkey Finger that was really good too. A little punky, because Mickey's got a little punk edge to his voice. And Frank played bass in that band, and that was another fun band, man.
It's cool.
You remember the Middle East? I remember playing the Middle East.
Oh my God! Yeah,
remember that
course.
Place?
Wow.
Yeah, there were like 10 bands a night playing. There was all 3 floors. You know, you have 4 bands a floor.
Yeah, and right now there's not that many venues. I seen today. I don't know if Paul or anybody else knows. The Rams Head's closing down.
Are you serious?
I just seen things.
I love Rams Head.
Yeah, they're closing down, I heard. So it's like, where these venues are just disappearing. It's crazy. It really is.
Apparently, they chose not to renew their lease as of November 15th.
So there were so many more places. I mean, like I said, maybe because we were younger, it seemed bigger, but it seemed like there were so many more places to play.
There were more places. It's not because we were younger. There were more places. They're not there anymore. I mean, you had the Empire. You had the Empire 2. You had the Middle East. You had the Trog. You had Dobbs, Khyber, Sam Adams. Yeah. Like, it was never ending. I mean, you could. Yeah. We used to just, like you see the memes about the 70s when you would just see like bikes in front of someone's house. You're like that. That's where everyone was. Yeah. You could wander the city and just see like, a bunch of shitty dudes like us smoking out front. You're like, oh, I'm going to go there tonight. I know there's going to be 5 bands that I know playing tonight. You know,
I mean, it's going to get to a point where we're all going to be putting on shows through the internet like this and just playing live through the internet.
Right.
I mean, a lot of bands now are doing like crash gigs, I would call them, where they find a warehouse and they set up and sell tickets. And my son does a lot of that stuff with his band. But I played all those places. I played the Empire, the Galaxy, Bonnie,
every one of them.
Yeah.
The Charter and Cell Block. I mean,
the Panic was the Pen at Dick Lee's too. Same spot. The Pen at Dick Lee's.
It was the Pen at East was Dick Lee's. Played there too.
They were all cover though, right? We never played there.
We played there as an original band.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that place.
We opened believe it or not, we opened or closed for Network or something. Which was
crazy.
Crazy.
Mark's old band. Mark's first band, right?
Yeah.
He played bass, I believe, in Network.
There was like the Electric Pony down the shore, and then there was oh my God, Jugs and Mugs.
The Electric Pony, Jugs and Mugs. Boy, it must have been a good fucking time. What were we going to throw in? The Black Banana, whatever that place was. I just always heard the Black Banana.
I remember the Black Banana.
Yeah.
That was like off South Street. I
heard it was crazy.
It was more Center City. Yeah.
It was like Second Market, somewhere around there.
Yeah. That was a fun joint, though. Yeah.
I heard it was crazy. I was
too
young.
It was crazy.
It was like anything goes.
Were you too young for Revival? Did you miss the Revival window?
I probably did.
I
I
love
probably just missed that.
Survival was like a game changer.
Yeah, I played a gig there with PM and the New Breed.
Okay,
shit.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
That's crazy, man. But like I said, all these
Asylum,
places are closed.
Sanctuary, Revival, all them places were like crazy back in the
yeah,
early '90s.
Well, I mean, I think
Yeah.
the thing that used to be compared to now it's, I mean, it's always been how many tickets could you sell and who could you bring in, but there were places that had built-in crowds where you
Right.
were,
Sure.
you know, and you try and tell these promoters and stuff, it's like, you know, and listen, we all been on the end. We understand it's a business, you got to bring people in, but you know, I always hate the how many people can you bring? I don't know, 5 to 50. You
Right,
never
right.
know. You don't know who's going to
Right.
show up. And I'm like, your place should be, you know, the steak. We should be the fucking sizzle on top of it. You know, it's
Right,
like
right.
it's like
Yeah.
it works both ways. And you have promoters that don't promote shows. You just have, and they expect the band to do everything. You know, it's funny because I was talking to Mark Evans. It probably was like a year or two ago, and he was saying that like with labels now, he's like, you got to you got to be able to sell 10,000 records on your own before they even look at you.
Right, right.
You know, and it's probably true. You know, but that's why I think at this point is, you know, even with the kids, have fun, have a blast. If anything clicks, work hard. If anything clicks, it's icing on the cake. It's a blessing.
Right, right.
You know, if not, worst
Do
comes
what
to
you
worst,
love.
you have
Mhm.
something that you did.
Do what you love.
You keep it creative. Okay, so I got a couple last questions for you guys. I appreciate you all still hanging out. Paul, I'm gonna ask everybody this too. First album you ever bought with your own money?
It was probably Rock and Roll Over by Kiss.
There you go. There
But
you
it
go.
was cassette.
Okay, on cassette.
On cassette.
Frank, how about you?
first album I bought with my own money. Vinyl? Does it have to be vinyl?
No, anything.
First album I ever bought was, well, first let's go with the vinyl. Technically, it's an album. Beatles' Yellow Submarine.
That was the first one. How about you, Pat?
So I was gifted on my 12th birthday the Eagles' Greatest Hits and Into the Outdoor by Led Zeppelin. The first one that I ever bought on my own was Van Halen, the first record.
Nice. How about you, John?
Queen, News of the World. Cassette, brought it from my neighbor.
Here you go.
Mhm.
Here you go. Paul, last thing you listened to?
It was New George Lynch. I don't know how new it is, but it was something called the
About a year.
Voodoo.
Probably about a year.
Oh, you saw my post?
No, I didn't, but I'm familiar with it. It's probably a couple months of a year.
Voodoo Wise Guys. Someday You'll Know is the name of the song. It's still on my page.
Okay, cool. How about you,
Great.
Frank?
Last thing I listened to was Lenny Kravitz. 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pat?
I'm going to go a little more progressive here, and I was listening to Lacuna Coil and Ad Infinitum on a Spotify playlist.
Okay. How about you, John?
Just what'd you say? The last thing you were listening to
Last thing you were listening to? Yeah.
was the band I was talking about earlier, Twisted. I was listening to all their mixes today,
Oh, awesome.
and just blew my head off.
Nice.
So yeah.
Awesome. How about you,
Mhm.
Mike? What was the last thing you listened to, Mike D?
Last thing I listened to. Geez, I'm probably the OCs, man.
The OCs. And where
The
they from?
OCs.
Where are they out of?
They're a California band, I believe.
Okay.
I don't think they started in California. I think they're based in California though now.
Okay. Before we wrap up here, John, I know you have a project going on. You were telling me about the other day. I don't know how much you could talk about it.
Yeah, I can talk about anything. Tabloid Nation. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Tabloid Nation.
yeah.
Can you give us a little
Tabloid
info?
Nation. Yeah, of course. Yeah. They were a New York band from the '90s, but they used to come down and we used to trade off shows, and they would play with us, and we'd go up and do stuff with them. And I just love them. And my wife Melissa, even before I knew her, she just was adored the band too. So we played a lot of shows, stayed friends together forever, and then lost touch like everybody does, you know. So last year, my old band Tidewater had done a reunion show. So those guys hit me up online, and they were like, "Hey man, we think we might want to try something like that. If you guys do another one, can we do one with you?" And I was like, "Sure, you know, that'd be awesome." And then a couple weeks later, like, hey, we think we're going to book a show anyway. Not wait for you. I'm like, that's cool. That's awesome. And then they were like, so they were one guitar player band. So the guitar player Mark was like, any chance you would hop in and be a part of this time? Because they haven't played in 20 years. And I was like, oh, absolutely not. I was like, thank you. Like, I'm fat and old and tired and busy. Like, I will literally waste your time. And so then we just started chatting, man. And I love the band so much. And I knew if I said to Melissa, the tabloid asked me to play in their reunion show and I didn't, she would just think different of me forever,
Right.
And so I'm like, let me see if I can pull this off. But it's just gotten wild, man. So as this thing unfolded, so we started practicing, started putting together what the reunion show was going to be. And then they're like, hey, man, they got signed to Atlantic, a subsidiary of Atlantic in the 90s. They made the record. It never came out. The label folded. So during this, they were like, well, why don't we just make the record again and put it out our own way, the way we wanted, the record we wanted to put out in the 90s. So they started making the record, hired a monster mix engineer, Paul Hager, to mix this record. And he's incredible. And then they hired a documentary company. So now they're making a documentary of the making of the record that should have come out in the 90s with, dudes in their 50s now. And then the record's almost done. It just got they just finalized a licensing deal with Warner Brothers. So the whole thing is and it's really just for fun. It's just kind of like for their own sense of, they know they had something super cool.
Yeah.
And they wanted to just, package it all up, but it just kept snowballing into these other avenues. So, so now the documentary's happening, the record's almost done, and we're playing a show October 30th at the Mercury Lounge in New York, which I always loved. And then we're playing right after the New Year. There's going to be a Stone Pony show. And I think some of these bigger shows are just being put together to kind of help wrap up what the documentary is going to be to release with the record,
And you said that, I guess it's first come, first serve. You guys are offering a bus trip.
Yeah, we're doing a free bus trip from the school.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Because it's the old school New York thing. It's a Wednesday night. We're playing at 10:30.
Yeah.
How do you get anybody to go to that? Well,
take off the next day. Definitely take off the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So John, you are playing with them then.
I am.
That's very cool. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And also, we're going to plug our show here, but December 15th at Tom and Jerry's, John's got an unplugged acoustic show for the students, all ages, right? Is that coming up?
Yeah, it's our acoustic show. Yep. Kids and adults. Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I was looking on the website, seen that today. I was like, that's pretty cool. Let me remember to plug it in.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it.
Anytime,
so
man.
we do what I call the acoustic show, and then we let the kids and adults sign up and do whatever. We have a curriculum in the band program, but they can sign up and play whatever they want. And we usually have about 40 to 50 performers for the day.
Nice.
And it's a lot of fun. I get to sit back and just watch like songs that I don't know, stuff kids are bringing to the table that they love from TikTok or whatever, and it just kind of blows my head off every time. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm tight with Erica and Steve from Seems Like Tuesday. And, their kids are always on TikTok and something. So they hear the new song, and Erica's got a wonderful voice. She's great. And they're like, well, Mom, this kind of sounds weird. And she's like, what do you mean? It's not auto-tuned? She's like, it sounds different than the things on TikTok. She's like, yeah, it's not auto-tuned.
That's funny.
It's crazy world, man. So before we wrap up here, Frank, you want to tell us about the show on October 6th? Fill us in on all the info.
October 6th, Russ Festival 2024 at Tom and Jerry's. So, like you explained earlier, Russell Minthorn, original drummer from the Prima Donnas, his dying wish was to have a show in his honor in lieu of a funeral. We did that last year, and it was a magical event. And like you said, we spoke. We wanted to keep it going, and so we decided the new purpose would be supporting John's efforts here at Let There Be Rock School. So all the proceeds are going to go to help pay for lessons for underprivileged kids, and we think it's a great way to honor Russ. It's a great way to keep a good thing going, a good chance for us to all come together, have some fun, play music, and I think most importantly is to help the next generation of musicians, because organic music, live instruments, creativity these days, it's not what it used to be. And I think it's so amazing of John to be cultivating the next generation of players.
Yep.
And also, I mean, the next generation of innovators, because you think about it, like you look at people who, you know, if you look in like technology, whatever it is, aerospace, medical, whatever. I mean, these people have come up with these new ideas. What was the first thing that taught them what it feels like to be creative? You know, it was probably music. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, that guitar player that made you say, wow, you know, that song that you couldn't get out of your head. I think that same creative spark is the same creative spark that gave us automobiles, light bulbs. You know what I mean? I think it's a universal frequency of creativity. So I think giving kids the opportunity to, you know, fall in love with an instrument and fall in love with the creative process, I think it carries over to whatever they do beyond that.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to not to be a downer, but I was talking to Ski, and me and Ski were talking back and forth. And we're like, man, like the music thing, we're like, it's a sickness. He's like, I quit every day. I'm like, so do I. I quit every day, every week. And then you're back here doing it again. It's just, it's in your blood. What are you going to do? You know, it's in your blood. So October 6th, Tom and Jerry's, it is an all ages show, right?
Yep. It's all ages show. And in addition to the bands like last year, we're going to be doing the raffle.
Cool.
And so Melissa is helping out again with that. And also, I need to start putting it out there more, asking people to donate, because we got some great donations last year. So, and so we're going to have the voodoo dolls again. I think we're going to have some T-shirts, not as many, but we're going to have some T-shirts. The coasters, the I Was Groot coasters.
Oh, cool.
And the Loch Ness Monster labels, all that stuff. So it's going to be cool, and probably some other things. So, yeah, it should be a great time. Raise money for a good cause. And this year, too, because one request I heard over and over again was people were asking for more cover bands.
Mm-hmm.
So, because last year we had the one Empire Diaries. Mm-hmm. So, but this year, actually, you guys are the only original band, technically.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So, you know, so it's gonna be something for everybody. You know,
it should be fun. That's why I said, you know, we were going to reach out to Paul, and these guys, you know, that's what they do. They play, they get paid, they play. And we were like, I was like, well, I asked Paul. I think Paul will do it. He's like, you think Paul will do it? I was like, yeah, maybe Shaky or Paul will do it. And Paul was in already. Like he was into it. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. You know? And Paul played last year. Instinct played there last year. So it's cool. Paul gets to play in two different times, two different bands, you know? So I think that's a pretty cool deal. Yeah, so Paul, looking forward for the new Instinct stuff. Looking forward to hearing you guys and Shaky, Old School that day. Pat's hosting it from Sick Vicky, so that should be fun. Pat's entertaining.
Yeah.
I get to come and hang out with all you guys.
Yeah.
Crazy trip.
Yeah. And we're all doing it for a great cause. And John, God bless you, brother, pushing the new stuff, working with the kids, having a good time at the same time. And I'm glad you're dusting off that guitar a little bit more and getting out there, man.
Thank you.
So,
appreciate it.
Yeah. Mixtapes and tasty cakes. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care.
Thanks. See you guys.
I'll be your savior. I'll be your traitor. I'll be the one who will decide.